Have you ever wondered why the search for truth sometimes feels more painful than peaceful? Why does the journey toward awakening begin not with bliss, but with confusion, fear, and the unsettling feeling that your entire life is falling apart? Most people imagine spiritual awakening as a state of constant peace. Yet the ancient sages described something very different. Before the dawn comes the darkest hour. Before a new understanding is born, the old identity must begin to dissolve. If you've reached a point where your beliefs no longer satisfy you, where your goals suddenly seem empty, or where you no longer recognize the person you used to be, don't assume you've lost your way. Across thousands of years, spiritual traditions have recognized this as a natural stage of profound inner transformation. The sages of the Upanishad called their approach Neti Neti. Not this, not this. They taught that truth is not found by adding new beliefs, but by letting go of every false identity. You are not merely your body. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not the labels the world has given you. As these identities begin to loosen, life can feel uncertain. What once seemed solid starts to crumble. To the ego, this feels like destruction. To consciousness, it is the beginning of freedom. The Bhagavad Gita reminds us that the true self is never born and never dies. Only our temporary identities change. Sufi mystics describe this as fana, the dissolving of the separate self before union with the divine. Buddhism likewise teaches that the self we cling to is constantly changing rather than permanent. Different traditions, one timeless truth. Before something higher can emerge, something false must fall away. Ancient India beautifully symbolizes this through Lord Shiva's Tandav. Shiva's dance is not destruction for its own sake. It clears away the old to make space for the new. Nature follows the same law. Old leaves fall so new ones can grow. Every ending quietly prepares for another beginning. Spiritual awakening follows this same rhythm. The collapse you are experiencing may not be the end of your journey. It may be the beginning of your real one. But this raises an important question. Why does awakening feel so overwhelming? Why does expanding consciousness often feel less like finding peace and more like watching your inner world come apart? To answer that, we must first understand what is actually breaking. Because it is not your true self that is collapsing. It is the identity that only believed it was. The first thing that begins to dissolve is the ego, not pride, but the identity you have built from memories, beliefs, fears, achievements, and social conditioning. For years, this identity has helped you navigate the world. But over time, we begin to mistake this mental image for our true self. As awareness deepens, that illusion starts to crack. Old beliefs lose their certainty. Long-held fears begin to look like stories instead of facts. The Yoga Sutra described this as confusing the seer with the movements of the mind. Awakening begins when the seer recognizes that it is the observer of thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. Naturally, the ego resists. It clings to what feels familiar, creating anxiety, confusion, and emotional turbulence. What feels like a breakdown is often the old identity fighting to survive. Nature offers a beautiful example of this transformation. When a caterpillar enters its cocoon, it doesn't simply grow wings. Much of its old body dissolves into a liquid-like state. At the same time, tiny imaginal cells begin creating an entirely new form. At first, the caterpillar's own system attacks these new cells, treating them as a threat. Yet they continue their work until a butterfly finally emerges. Our spiritual journey often follows the same pattern. The very part of us that resists change is unknowingly resisting our own transformation. Awakening also affects our inner energy. Ancient yogic traditions describe the body as a network through which prana, the life force, flows. During deep spiritual practice, Some people experience intense emotions, unusual bodily sensations, changes in sleep, or periods of profound stillness. These experiences differ for everyone and should neither be feared nor chased. They are signs that your system is adapting, not the destination itself. Another profound shift is the collapse of your personal story. Every one of us carries an inner narrative. I am successful. I always fail. I must prove myself. Over time, these stories become our identity. Then awakening reveals something startling. They are only stories, shaped by memory and conditioning. And as those stories begin to dissolve, another hidden layer emerges. The fears, grief, anger, guilt, and painful memories we buried deep within ourselves rise to the surface. Psychologist Carl Jung called this the shadow. Ancient spiritual traditions understood the same truth. What remains hidden cannot be healed. This is why awakening can feel so intense. It is not just changing your beliefs, it is transforming your mind, your emotions, your energy, and your very sense of who you are. If awakening can feel so overwhelming, how do you move through it without losing yourself? The first step is surrender. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means letting go of the constant struggle to return to the person you once were. The more we resist change, the more we suffer. Like a river, life flows naturally. Peace comes not from fighting the current, but from learning to move with it. The second step is to stay grounded. Spend time in nature. Walk barefoot on grass if possible. Pay attention to your breath. Eat nourishing food, rest well, and reduce unnecessary noise from social media and constant stimulation. A calm body supports a calm mind. The third step is to become the witness. Instead of believing every thought, begin observing it. When fear appears, simply notice it. When sadness arises, acknowledge it. You can even name the emotion. This is fear. This is anger. This is sadness. Then ask yourself one simple question. Who is aware of this thought? Don't search for an intellectual answer. Simply observe. The one who notices the thought is deeper than the thought itself. This simple shift, from identifying with the mind to witnessing the mind, is one of the greatest discoveries found in the Upanishad and the yoga tradition. Another helpful practice is journaling. Write honestly about your thoughts and emotions without judging them. Bringing your inner world onto paper often brings clarity and creates space for healing. If your suffering becomes overwhelming or begins to interfere with daily life, seeking help from a qualified mental health professional is both wise and courageous. Spiritual practice and professional support can complement one another. Above all, be patient. Nature never rushes transformation. A seed must break open before it becomes a tree. A caterpillar must surrender its old form before it becomes a butterfly. In the same way, your false identity must soften before your deeper nature can fully emerge. So if your world feels uncertain, if old beliefs are falling away, or if it seems that something inside you is breaking, don't rush to rebuild what life is asking you to release. Pause. Take a slow breath and ask yourself, what deeper truth is trying to emerge through this experience? Perhaps this is not the end of your journey. Perhaps it is the beginning of your real one. You are not being destroyed. You are being revealed.